I went to St. Mary's Grammar School, and everyone at St. Mary's was going to Christian Brothers, and there was only a handful of us that decided not to go there. And so Jesuit was on my radar because my mom had heard Jesuit was a great high school, and we actually were surprised that everyone said, "No, you got to go CV. CV's a great school," but my folks said you should go there, and I had a couple friends coming here, so that's kind of what did it.
I have a vague and very old memory of being a small child, even like a kindergartner or first grader, and hearing about Jesuit. I didn't even know if it was a high school or if it was a college. I didn't understand those things at that point, but I heard that's a really great place and it's hard to get into. And for some reason, I remember that it was kind of triggered in me. Great place, hard to get into. I want that.
Favorite spot, so it was a little different, right, than it is now. We were an open campus. We could go to our cars, and so I remember during lunch, one of my buddies whose kids are now here at Presentation. Anyway, we would hang out in his car, and we would just listen to music at lunch, and it was kind of nice. You know, we could take a nap in the car if we wanted to. But I remember those memories. So I would probably say, you know, hanging out in our cars or on the soccer field.
I have a lot of stories. I think when I remember back on my time being a student, I just remember that our teachers were very kind, and they were very supportive. And they really got to know us as people, and I remember that really struck with me. At St. Mary's, I had great teachers, but at the same time, sometimes they're a little scary, you know, nuns. The priests here were always really, they were supportive. They came and saw us at games or at concerts or at plays or at chess tournaments, or just whatever. And I just remember thinking, this is a group of people, this is a group of adults that really has our back, that really cares about us, you know. And when you're a kid, I don't think you probably don't say those things, but you feel those things and you register that, and that really stuck with me. So there's not one thing, it's really a feeling that I remember.
The one story that sticks out to me about what makes Jesuit special or different has to do with how caring the teachers are. I had missed a quiz because of a soccer game I had for early dismissal, and I had to kind of make up the quiz after school the next day, and I was with Mr. Zangrando, and he was my morality teacher. And I had enjoyed this class. I had been engaged in that class for the first few months of it, and I sat down. I was alone in the classroom. I finished my quiz and I turned it in. As I was leaving, he goes, "Hold on there, Mr. Wood." He goes, "How are you?" I go, "Fine." And And he actually knew that there were some challenges in my life at that time that he was aware of, and started talking to me about who I am, what I was going through, identifying with me. And really, I just felt known and cared for, and that I was an important person. And that was one of many examples of that.
It's always been top-notch. And as a student particularly, I just remember being quite overwhelmed with the caliber of faculty members. I would say people were great as a baseline, just in general. I had some really great teachers, and then I had a small handful, who were just superlative in every sense of the word. And I'll tell you about a few, and I want to give some shout outs. So, for example, I know you're doing this for Mr. Lawrence's class, so I'd like to give him a shout out. He was my freshman year English teacher, and I really enjoyed having him. I remember reading The Hobbit, which is a book I had already read and came in loving, and we read that book together in class and analyzed it, and that was a real joy. I had, freshman year, I had a great priest teacher named Father Scully. For world history. He had a very wry and sardonic wit about him. He was very dry sense of humor, very quick-witted, kind of just this rapier-like wit, just could be scathing, sort of lovingly insulting, and almost too quick for you if you didn't, but just brilliant. Knew his subject matter inside and out, and I thought, God, I'm in this high school freshman learning world history from a guy who's like a master in his field, whose depth of knowledge is profound. So he was great. Sophomore year, I had a guy you guys know well, Father Charles Olson, who was wonderful. And again, this was kind of cool because, again, coming from a secular, non-religious background, was for me actually kind of a gift, something of a fortunate thing. Because I came in without a lot of preconceptions and dogma, and I had a very open mind about stuff. And Father Olson was really the first, I think, priest to get me really thinking, first person really to get me really thinking deeply about great philosophical questions about kind of everything, big existential questions about life, time, the cosmos, creation, matter and energy. And he clearly wanted us to think deeply and reflect critically. And he was also a really masterful storyteller. So to this day, I'm just really grateful that I had Father Olson, whom I see around here all the time, that I had him as a teacher, so many years ago when I was like 16 years old.
A great story I had as a student would probably be the support that I received while at Jesuit. I don't know how many people know, but Father Stolz and I, who was my math teacher here at Jesuit, became very, very close. And so that was, for me, was really an experience that kind of epitomized the Jesuit community and the things that we talk about supporting our young men, about making sure that we're helping these young men form into men for others, and self-sacrifice. Father Stolz sacrificed a lot for me to be successful here. I had a great experience with my teachers and coaches here at Jesuit. I really got along well with them, and developed some really close friendships and relationships with them. I remember them being, funny and big personalities, and they'd make a lot of jokes in class, and I enjoyed school while I was here in most of my classes.
And then finally, I would be remiss if I did not mention probably the greatest teacher of all time here, which was Mr. Ed Trafton. And you probably can testify to someone having been involved with Black Bucks drama yourself. Mr. Trafton was hands down the best teacher I have ever had in my life to this day. So I had him for junior year English, honors English. It was American Literature and Composition. I learned more from him and from that class, probably than from any other class, surely. But what I learned from him and in that class carried on and throughout my 4 years at Cornell. What I learned from that class in terms of essay writing and composition, organizational thinking, critical thinking, and more importantly in terms of analyzing imagery and symbolism to get at the heart of a work of art, to really understand, to really peel back the layers and get at the theme of a work of art. What I learned in his class informed almost every essay that I wrote at Cornell, if it was kind of a humanities-based type of course. Every essay that I wrote at Cornell, and the things that I would write at Cornell, my professors would love. They would always love what I had to say in these essays, and I always kind of just, in the back of my mind, smiled, thinking, I learned all this stuff from Ed Trafton in high school. You know, I mean, I'd be a junior or senior at Cornell writing pretty sophisticated essays about Greek theater or, gosh, Renaissance literature, what have you. And I would be carrying over those lessons that Ed taught me here. So it's an extreme honor and privilege to be a fellow faculty member with him. I mean, even to this day, I almost kind of get like, wow, like I work with this genius of a man. I work with Ed Trafton.
I think honestly, I probably get more out of this job than I give. I say this to my friends and I mean it. I can't really imagine the person I would have become had I not done this.
Well, a lot of what I learned from Mr. Trafton and others, I try to instill in my guys today. In fact, when I was doing my master's kind of project a few years ago through USF, I get my master's degree, we had to do make a little iMovie, a cute little iMovie about something we learned from a teacher and how we hoped for that to impact our own lives as a teacher. I talked about what I learned from Mr. Trafton, and I talked about the lessons I learned about motifs and themes, and I put together this kind of cool little iMovie about all that. And I ended it by saying, you know, these are lessons that not only did I learn, but I hope to pass on and instill in the next generation of guys, in my guys. And so when I was teaching English class, for example, which I did here for many years, so when I was first hired here at Jesuit, I was primarily a full-time English teacher with one class of math. Now it's kind of the other way, I'm full-time math. But anyway, when I was teaching English, I was very much trying to pass on those same kinds of lessons that Ed taught me. But beyond that, it was the kinds of things that like Mr. Trafton and some other teachers here taught me went beyond the academic and the scholastic. They were spiritual insights. I mean, they were lifelong, spiritually elevating kinds of interactions and challenges, right?
You know, I was a little introverted when I graduated. I was quiet, I was shy, and I would really tell my 17-year-old self to make as many deep connections as possible, get to know people, spend time with as many people as you possibly can, and really listen and be present when you're in front of them. Whether it's in college, making friendships, as you grow and get older. Obviously, I'm blessed to have a wife and two children, And I would say that as many truly deep human connections that you can make, and friendships, do it, because I think that's what life is really about. Having a career, a successful career, is important, but really having that connection is really, I think, what really can define a great life. So.